Welcome to our second video on Chapter 8, Writing Equations. Our objective is I can write an equation to represent a solution. So, here we go, getting straight away. First of all, we did this in Chapter 7 where you would see a word sentence like the difference of n and 2 is, or the sum of 6 and 5, whatever it was. And we would get a little bit confused because sometimes the variable came in front, and sometimes the numeric term came in front. It just kind of depended, and it was really hard to tell the difference. So here's a rule to remember. Difference and quotient, also called subtraction and division, are the two that matter. For multiplication and addition, because of the commutative property, doesn't matter which order you put them. But you guys know that it does matter in subtraction and division what number comes first. So, if it is stated as the difference of n and 2, then it is written as n minus 2. If it is the quotient of n and 3, it is written as n divided by 3 or n divided by 3. Just two different ways to write that. So write that down because it is very important that you remember that. Difference of n and 2 is n minus 2. Quotient of n and 3 is n minus 3, or n divided by 3. So please, please, please remember that. And of course, the n is a variable. It can change. It could be an a, b, a c, or it could say the difference of 2 and n, and then it would be 2 minus n. So whatever is listed first is your first number. Whatever is listed second is your second number. True for both of these. Okay? Just want you to remember that. Okay, so let's get diving in right away. Here is an example. A school recently spent $1,650 on new iPods. The iPods cost $275 each. Your job is to write an equation to find the number of n iPods the school bought. So think about the information you have here. You know how much they spent, and you also know how much each one cost, but you don't know how much or how many they bought. So we're going to use n to represent that. Now, looking at our words here, we don't actually have to solve it. We probably could, but we don't have to. We just have to write an equation. So let's look at first our cost per iPad. Cost per iPod. Each iPod costs $275. Now, I don't know how many they bought. I don't know the number of iPods, but I do know the total cost. I know that in total, it costs $1,650. So I'm going to write that in. So what I'm looking for is I'm going to use a variable to represent the number of iPods. And I'm using n because that's what it told me to use in my story problem here. So 275n, oops, I wrote that number backwards there, equals 1,006. Abigail, get off my iPod. Sorry. 1,650. And then I would need to probably divide 1,650 by 275, but that wasn't the instructions. It just said to write an equation. So that's all you have to do for that. Let's try the next problem. Okay, so here's an example. You're going to see problems like this. Write an equation for the word sentence. The word sentence is 6 fewer than a number is 46.33. So I'm going to write an equation. Remember, an equation has an equal sign. So, and the words is right here. Clue me to that's where my equal sign goes. So I'm going to work kind of backwards. I'm going to say 6 fewer than a number is, or equals, 46.33. Now I need to think, okay, n equals number, 6 equals this, fewer than tips me off to subtraction. But it's actually kind of tricky because I know I said that n, the difference between n and 2, but when it says 6 fewer than a number, that means I'm going to start with my number, and then I'm going to take 6 fewer than it and subtract 6. For example, if my number was 8 and I said 6 fewer than 8, that's how it would work, okay? So I'm going to take n minus 6 equals 46.33. So I could look and say, well, what would make n true here? That's not what it asked me to do, but just so we can kind of look ahead. What number, if I subtract 6, equals 46.33? Let's try adding 6. 33 point. Look at that. So we know that the solution to our problem, n, equals 52.33, because that would make our statement true if we plugged n into our equation. But it didn't ask us to do that part. That's just an extra step. But all it asked us to do was to write an equation for the word sentence. 6 fewer than a number is 46.33, or 6 fewer than 52.33 is 46.33, which would be true. Okay, here's another example. 2/3 of the cost of the sweater is $18. All right, so let's start with our is. Is tells us that's where our equal sign goes. So 2/3 of the cost of the sweater is $18. Well, now let's look back. I have 2/3. I'm going to represent that by a fraction. Whoops, maybe. 2/3 of the cost of the sweater. Well, I don't know the cost of the sweater. I'm going to use a variable. Let's use S. And I remember that of means to multiply. This is a key word that means multiplying. 2/3 of the cost of the sweater is $18. So my equation would be 2/3 S. That looks like 2/35. I'm going to put a multiplication sign in there. Equals 18. And that's all I have to do for that problem. Now here, they've given you the equation. A plus 15 equals 24. But the instructions say to write a word sentence for the equation, meaning you're going to write some words. There's a whole couple of different ways you could do this. I'm going to show you at least one of them. So let's see here. I know that equals, I'm going to use the word is. So something is 24. What could I use for addition? I'm going to use the word sum. Sum. So now I'm going to put this together. The sum of A and 15 is 24. So now I've written a word sentence for the equation A plus 15 equals 24. The sum of A and 15 is 24. Another different way I could have written this, I could have done something like this. There's a whole bunch of ways you can do this. Another way we could say this, the sum of A and 15 is 24. We could also say something like A plus 15 equals 24. So it's any of those are proper ways to say it. It's just another way. You could even say 15 more than A is 24. Lots of different ways you could say this, as long as you said it so that it read true. Okay, try this problem on your own. It says write a word sentence, just like I did in the last one. Write a word sentence for the equation R divided by 0.2 equals 40. Now, if you were listening to anything I just said, it might help you out, okay, because it's pretty straightforward in writing it down. Go ahead and try it. Okay, one way to write this is exactly how I just said it. R divided by, whoops, sorry, that looks kind of sloppy, divided by 0.2 equals 40. That's one way. Another way you could say this is the quotient of R and 0.2 is 40. That's another way you could say it. Both are completely fine and completely accurate. The reason they want you to know how to do this is so when you're reading story problems, you can pull out words like quotient or divided by and know how to set up your own equation from it. You're not going to see sentences like this in real life, but you will see sentences in story problems that represent that, so that's why you do these practice problems now. Okay, this time I'm not going to read the equation, see if you can figure it out on your own, but I will read the instructions. Write a word sentence for the equation. The equation is right here. Pause, try, and then watch to see how you did. Okay, so the equation is 25 equals 1/4 n, or the way we could write this is 25 is 1/4 times n. Another way we could do is 25 equals the product of 1/4 and a number. Lots of different ways we could do this. We could even say the product of 1/4 and a number equals 25 and kind of flip this sentence around. That's also fine. Again, boys and girls, there's so many ways you can do this. If you tried a way and you're pretty sure it's right and I don't have it listed here, raise your hand and ask me and I can tell you if you did it correctly, because there's no way I can write all of the different ways to do a word sentence for this equation, but these are just a couple examples for it. Okay, try this problem on your own. You're going to write an equation for the word sentence. The difference of a number and 2/3 is 5/8. Remember that number of a number, that's going to be represented by a variable here. Go ahead and try. Okay, here's the difference is going to clue me into the word in subtraction. Of a number and 2/3 is 5/8 is the equal sign. So I have number subtract 2/3 equals 5/8. And that's all I have to do. Okay, here's our last problem. It's a story problem. You're going to go ahead and try it. 3 friends share a bucket of popcorn. The total cost of the popcorn is $5.70. Remember how many friends are sharing it? 3 friends. Write an equation that could be used to find the price A that each friend paid. So, go ahead and solve. Well, you're not solving, you're just writing an equation. Go ahead and try and write an equation here, and then I'll check your work. Okay, so if we were to represent this, I would think to myself, well, obviously the information I know is that the popcorn cost a total of $5.70. So that would be the one side of my equation. On the other side, I know that 3 friends were sharing it. I don't know how much each friend paid, but that's represented by my variable A. So 3 friends, each of them paying whatever the amount is that they had to pay, would equal the total of $5.70. So 3A equals 570 is our equation. And that's all there is, boys and girls. That was the end of the lesson. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. If not, make sure that you're working on your practice pages. And be sure to double check with me or with a buddy to see if your word sentences are accurate and true. Thanks so much. Have a good day.